Hey, welcome everyone. I want to welcome all those who traveled from some distances away to Augusta, Georgia, over here in east central Georgia, the home of Georgia's second capital, but about a couple of hours east of our current capital where we normally have our meetings. We do like to have special committees that can meet over the session, in between the sessions, between our legislative 40 days in January, February, and March every year so that we can tackle issues that need more in-depth study, ones like this that may have some scientific basis. I know we have committees looking at, special committees looking at insurance rates. They're looking at school literacy and how we can improve that. They're looking at school security. We're looking at transportation issues. There's just so much that we look at that can't quite be done in our 40-day session where we try to be very efficient in Atlanta. So I want to welcome everyone to the home of Augusta University and the home of the Medical College of Georgia, where I graduated from a number of years ago. And I'm glad to have you all here. I do appreciate our host today. And if I could just take a minute to introduce, if you will, the president of the Augusta University, once again, my home alma mater, Russell Keene. If you'll come up and give a word of welcome to our area. And I want to thank you all for being here as we look at this challenging issue. Really two issues that we're looking at. We're looking at both medical cannabis, which has been legal in Georgia for nearly 10 years, very important, but it's been a slow progressing effort to bring needed relief to many people who have conditions that have no answer in modern medicine, severe conditions, end-stage conditions, but at the same time, things like intractable pain and PTSD and other things that we've added and looked at. So that's the medical cannabis or medical marijuana that's been legal in Georgia, but we're looking at ways to make that program better. By the way, we will be looking at that more in depth at our meeting at the end of September in Macon, which it will be our third meeting of the year. We started July 29th, so we're going to look at that. So today we are focused primarily on hemp-derived THC and CBD and other things that are involved with that, trying to get a better understanding of both the science, the agriculture, as well as any kind of beneficial or challenging components of that. We will be hearing, I know, from our law enforcement friends and others, and we have people who've looked in other states to see what are the opportunities and what are the challenges. So we've got a lot to deal with just looking at hemp-based products, which is what we will be concentrating on today. So that's just a little introduction to what we're here for today. Once again, I want to thank Augusta University and the Medical College of Georgia for being able to welcome all of you to my home. And Russell, if you'll, President Keene, if you'll have a quick welcome, I'm going to go back to my seat and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to LA, lovely Augusta. We are so glad you are here. My name is Russell Keene. I have the opportunity to serve as the second president of Augusta University, and I sincerely want to welcome you to your AU campus here. We are home to the Medical College of Georgia, the fourth largest medical school in the country. We do that with 8 partnerships of health systems across this state, and we are a very high research activity institution. We have over $160 million worth of research expenditures and graduate over 500 doctoral degrees every year. Mr. Chairman, thank you for bringing this esteemed group here today, but we want to ensure that you all leave here feeling like you have stepped on the grounds of somewhere very special. At Augusta University, what makes us unique, we're one of 26 institutions in the university system of Georgia. Our education is life-saving and life-changing. You'll see on our campus and our logo we have a bell, and bells mean a little something different to us. It certainly is the marking of beginnings and new beginnings, but it's also the marking when you hear a bell of someone completing their treatment for cancer. You might hear a bell of someone finishing a program. At here, when we say life-saving, life-changing education, what we mean is, and I get asked this a lot, especially during this time in the fall, is we don't have football here, but we have a different kind of champion. And the champions we have are in the classroom, the champions we have are in the laboratory, and the champions we have are in the clinic. And when we talk about championships, we don't have raging fans packed in a stadium, but it could very well be your family and my family and your neighbors. And this is the state's only public academic medical center, home of the Medical College of Georgia, the only dental college in this state, and we're so grateful for your continued support of what we're doing and our mission. We thank you for being here. We welcome you back, and bring your families with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Keene, and we appreciate the hosting and the graciousness. Welcome to those who came from a distance, committee members. Most of you did. I guess I had the shortest drive, but we look forward to going on and getting started. We do have an agenda. We did have some late additions to the one you may have in front of you, so I am going to have us progress along. We are on a tight time schedule. We intend to be done in 2 hours. We want to make sure we give everyone a chance to speak that has traveled a distance, so we may have to have some time limits on some comments at some point. The members of the committee, just wave your hand and get the real boss Anna's attention, and she will put us down in the order that we need when you have questions for the presenter, for the chair, or anything else. So we will go ahead and get started now. First off, is Diana Eberlin here? I know there was a talk about it. Oh, well, we're going to welcome you, and if you can just introduce yourself and your organization, and then tell us, we are aiming for 10 or 15 minutes, and
Okay.
Leave a little time for questions that can help us better understand both your organization, the results that y'all have seen, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for being here.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, Chairman, and thank you to the committee for giving us the time to present today. My name is Diana Eberlein. I am the chair of the Coalition for Adult Beverage Alternatives. We're a unified voice for the alcohol and hemp beverage industry. What we're going to talk a little bit about today is the intoxicating lower dose THC beverage category and how these products can be regulated safely and sold to adult consumers in Georgia. So a little bit about our coalition. We really set out to, again, unify the voice of the alcohol as well as the hemp industry. You'll see, you'll see a lot of our recommended regulations are very similar to what you see for other adult beverages. Oftentimes you hear, treat us differently, treat us separately. We are actually coming here to ask to be regulated and taxed very similarly to other adult beverages that target similar consumers, 21 plus, who are buying these products currently at convenience and grocery within Georgia. We have a lot of strategic partners across the United States, and in Georgia specifically, 2 of our board members are Eagle Rock Distributing and Southern Crown, who you'll also hear from today. We built a very robust code of conduct, and I have multiple copies that I can share with the committee as well on how to best regulate and distribute, sell to the adult consumer, whether it's across the U.S. or Georgia specifically, but a lot of this code of conduct serves as the foundation for our organization. Our primary focus is consumer safety. We want high quality products and safe access to the consumer. So how did we get here? This all started because of the 2018 Farm Bill, where there was a definition that defined hemp and legalized all derivatives of hemp. And hemp was defined as having up to 0.3% THC. A lot of that was done with the idea of focusing on industrial hemp and farmers, but what a lot of people realized was because there was still that up to 0.3% of THC within the plant, that it could be isolated and used within the definition to create intoxicating products that could be sold to the marketplace outside of the dispensary or legal marijuana channels. In Minnesota in 2022, they passed regulation that allowed for intoxicating hemp products to be sold and served other locations where adult beverages were sold, and that created a real wave of interest and demand from the consumer, but also real opportunity for that state because they taxed it and legitimized the category in a way that allowed for them to enforce regulations to clean up the marketplace as well. So what is a THC beverage? This is a low-dose intoxicating beverage using THC that is derived from the hemp plant. We focus on D9 THC as the only intoxicating cannabinoid used in this product, and it can be naturally derived from the hemp plant, meaning it's not synthesized or a converted or synthetic material. These products come in various formats, ready to drink, which is your standard 12-ounce can that you typically see, but there's also single-serve liquid and powder sachets. as well as large format products that you see across the U.S. Now, in Georgia specifically, you see typically 12-ounce beverages that are being sold at convenience, but there's a lot of variety and opportunity for this category to continue to evolve and grow. Benefits to the consumer and why people find this as a really beneficial way to intake THC. It's extremely consistent and socially acceptable. Everyone in this room has probably, well, 21 and over has consumed an adult beverage. Adult beverages deliver an intoxicant that delivers a consistent and sessionable experience, and that is what we aim to do with these low-dose THC beverages. These beverages, you will feel the effects after consuming the product within 10 to 20 minutes, and then it will start to dissipate after about 60 minutes. We'll actually show you in a little bit of data that shows that we can prove the consistency, sessionability, and the repeat experience that consumers receive from these products. That has created a lot of consumer trust for this category in particular, and across the United States, we have actually seen a lot of on-premise accounts and insurance providers provide insurance coverage for this category specifically because the science is there to back a consistent experience that, again, can be predictable. You hear a lot about unpredictable experiences from other formats of consuming THC. This is something where we have science that can prove the consistency that is delivered with these products. Responsible consumption. We do a lot of education on this in general. A lot of this is based on anecdotal evidence because everyone's tolerance for THC is different, just like everyone's tolerance for alcohol is different. Everyone needs to learn their tolerance, and their alcohol tolerance will not correlate to their D9 THC tolerance. The THC tolerance spectrum is extremely wide. I am a low-dose consumer. I would equate a 2.5 milligram beverage to be the same intoxication level as a light beer, for existence. There are other people that might feel differently about that, but anecdotal evidence is showing on average a 2.5 milligram beverage has a similar intoxication level to a light beer or a half glass pour of wine. Talking about the supply chain, we hear a lot about safety and concerns about where the product is coming from, how it's being manufactured. Obviously, adult beverages are not new to the marketplace, and we're following very similar infrastructures and supply chain channels that you will see in other adult beverages. The main difference, our active ingredient is D9 THC. But what you probably hear a lot about is supply chain. Supply chain management, oftentimes in the adult beverage channel, focuses primarily on the supplier, the brand, the wholesaler, and then the retailer, and then it's sold off to the consumer. With our industry, we are actually tracking where the hemp is being grown, where it's coming from, where it's being manufactured, how it's being converted into the water-soluble ingredient that is then used to deliver that consistent experience for the consumer, all the way through to distribution and retail. The phrase we like to use is seed to shelf. We are able to provide a lot of transparency that oftentimes wouldn't be required by other industries because we are the new kids on the block here. We are looking to earn your trust, and that is done through a lot of transparency and documentation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the D9 THC. We get a lot of questions about D9 in particular. Whether D9 is extracted from the hemp or marijuana plant, it is the same molecule. So D9 THC will create the same experience time and time again, regardless of what plant it is extracted from. Hemp is required in this particular instance because of the compliance issues at the federal level, and then the regulations you have in place today in Georgia. The D9 that is being used in a majority of the leading products in the market is being naturally extracted from the hemp plant, and then through a process called chromatography is being isolated down so that there's no other cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, things like that. It's being isolated out, and then it's being used as the active ingredient in these products. You'll see some beverages also have CBD, which is also being extracted from hemp as well, putting into those, but THC is the main active ingredient that's causing the intoxicating effect, and it is naturally derived from the plant. Emulsion technology. This is the technology that has been used in beverages for decades to create a homogeneous, consistent experience, because when you want to take the first sip of a beverage, if it tastes different at the end of a beverage, that's a weird experience. You want to have the same consistent taste and intoxication level from that first sip as the last. So what this technology does, that again has been used in beverage for decades for things like hops, terpenes, flavonoids, flavors within beverage, is being used just on a new active ingredient, and that's D9. The technology has made it extremely stable, so the ingredient itself can be left stable, which is what we're looking at the left-hand side, can remain stable for over 12 months. Within the beverage, typically, these beverages have stability studies that show stability for 3 to 6 months, and what that means is that first sip has the same amount of THC as the last sip. If you split a beer with someone, you guys don't think about, did I get the same amount of alcohol as that guy did if I split this beer in half? This is what this technology allows. If you split a THC beverage with another person and that beverage had 5 milligrams in it, you got 2.5, they got 2.5, as long as you have a steady hand to pour. On the right-hand side here, what we're looking at is how the molecules distribute themselves within the product. These molecules naturally, through emulsion technology, repel off of each other. That allows for that stability for that first sip to the last. And that's what emulsion technology allows for other beverages as well. Again, it's not new. We are just improving upon it to make it more efficacious for a new active ingredient. We have a lot of data. I'm not going to go through each of these. I don't have enough time for that. But what I do want to show you is this graph on the left is what I was describing about the consistent experience. This graph on the left shows that within 7 to 10 minutes, you start to see the THC enter the bloodstream. At that 60-minute, you see the peak. That's the peak of the consumer having all of the THC in their system, and then it dissipates as the time goes on. Again, very similar to other adult beverages and how you consume. It allows the consumer to safely consume and understand their limits as well. On the right-hand side, you see a copy of a certificate of analysis. There's a number of labs that have been trained and qualified to do proper testing for these products, and you can see everything from the pesticides that came from the raw material, all the way through to, is the potency accurate? Are there any heavy metals? Are there any other residual ingredients in this product? This is also where you would be able to verify whether a product is using naturally derived D9 or a synthetic cannabinoid. This means that there are regulations that you can put in place to ban and restrict synthetic products or other ingredients that you don't want in these products. But this is the documentation that we provide to our wholesalers and our retailers so that people have the confidence in this product. And these certificates of analysis are available via QR codes on the packaging themselves. They are on the cans. They are also on external packaging as well. And that's for full transparency. The other thing I wanted to point out here is we are working on a lot of training programs. On the left-hand side, there's a cannabis beverage certification. This program was created to be similar like the Cicerone project, which is what was created for on-premise beer consumption and education for hospitality groups. We did the same thing for THC beverages, so we could train hospitality operators to understand how to sell and serve these products responsibly to consumers. On the right-hand side, we've got a number of We've also done studies on can liners and packaging to make sure that these products are, again, shelf stable and delivering exactly what the consumer sees labeled on that product. Last part I really want to make sure I get through, so I'll go through quickly, is influential markets. These are the last 3 markets that put together really comprehensive regulations for this category in particular. They age-gated this, so 21 plus are the only ones that can purchase these products. They are being regulated by ABC, so they are now being regulated by the same group that does beer, wine, and spirits, and they also tax these products. That's a very important component because these taxes allowed them to fund enforcement efforts at the state level, but also awareness efforts so that the consumer understood what these products were as they became more prevalent on the shelves. Consumers trust how adult beverages are being regulated. These numbers came from the Center for Alcohol Policy. They specifically focused on THC beverages in the market and what confusion was out there for consumers. And what they were asking for was for this to be very similarly regulated and distributed to how alcohol was. Why? They trust alcohol. They know alcohol. They know their suppliers. They know their bar managers. This is something they're very comfortable with. So following this bill allows us to not only keep the consumer safe because they can enforce those regulations, but using a system they're comfortable with. And then the last piece I'll touch on is taxation. States have done various things. What we've seen a lot of interest in is taxing this very similar to beer. Because again, these are probably the most comparable in terms of the intoxication level are beer and ready-to-drink beverages. Currently, Georgia has a 10 milligram cap. These products are being overseen by the Department of Ag, and on-premise is permitted. There's no taxation, and there's no package stores access, so liquor stores can't sell these products. In many markets, liquor stores are permitted to sell these because that's where adult beverages or adults are going to buy their more potent adult beverage options, but it's obviously an option for the state to evaluate. But anyone going into a liquor store is 21 plus, so that's an automatic way to guarantee access to the appropriate consumer. And the last thing I'll mention is the taxation piece, because that's the way you clean up the illicit market, because all markets where we haven't had taxation or we've seen restriction, severe restriction of the category, we've seen spikes in the illicit market, and it's been incredibly difficult for law enforcement and other groups to take action when they don't have the funding to be able to clean up the marketplace.
Thank you for going through that and for the work. I have a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
I know our committee members may have some brief ones as well. I'll try to be quick. The supply chain that you showed that was fairly involved and fairly tight, is that just apply to members of your organization, or has some state put that into place that requires the exact same, and then the no synthetics?
Definitely applies to all of our members, but I would say majority of the beverage groups that are operating in the space right now are working with brewers and co-packers that already work in the adult beverage space, so that worm, if you will, that you saw in terms of the supply chain is being followed throughout.
Second question had to do with that graph that you showed, the onset and then the gradual, and it ended at 420 minutes with still some, I say, detectable or either maybe even intoxicating a level. We know with alcohol, certain levels below which seem to have minimal effect with the same, probably the same kind of graph. How far out does that graph go? We've heard that you can test positive.
Correct.
In a blood sample 3 days later. Well, if it's still detectable in my bloodstream 3 days later, how do we know whether or not it's having an effect on me? Is there an accepted test? I know we're going to hear from our law enforcement friends later on whether or not, one of the things I hope we hear about is there a way to tell, is there a guaranteed level at which you can measure and say, well, this was the reason for, or this influenced that car accident, this influenced that medical mishap, this influenced
Unfortunately, we don't have a similar comparison to alcohol in that regard because it stays in your system for so long, and everyone's tolerance and the spectrum of tolerance for THC varies by consumer. What we can say is, for the most part, we can see that the intoxication level drops down after that, 120 minutes or so. However, we don't have enough evidence to show if someone is intoxicated. We know that the intoxication level drops off, but we don't have a way of enforcing a bloodstream test or anything like that. What we've relied on is field test studies. So if someone is acting impaired, you're going to test them for everything, and you're going to see what's in their system. But at this time, we've tried breathalyzers. We've worked with different groups. We are currently working with groups like Johns Hopkins and others to try and come up with a solution for that. But at this time, there isn't one that is as black and white as what we have for alcohol.
Well, thank you very much. We do have a lot to get to. I appreciate the work and the work of your organization, and you're coming here today to enlighten us on this aspect of the beverage side of hemp-related products. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Certainly. Dr. Gaylord Lopez, if you can head on up, we're going to hear from you, I guess, with a pharmacy background and a statistics background. If you can give us some information on what the Georgia Poison Control Center has seen. And if you can, try to be a little bit brief, and Anna here will give you about a 2-minute warning with yellow and red.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you for being
Newton.
here.
And esteemed panelists, thanks for letting me speak today. I'm not going to have fancy slides, or I do have a one-page handout in your packet. But as Dr. Newton said, I'm Gaylord Lopez. I'm the executive director of the Georgia Poison Center. Got a little bit of experience. I've been director since 1988, serving as both the clinical director as well as the administrative director of the Poison Center. The Georgia Poison Center is one of 54 poison centers in the country. We're probably the premier poison center in the country and rated as the second busiest. Technically, I like to call us the busiest because the busiest poison center out there, which is in Colorado, actually handles 5 states, and our program handles just the state of Georgia. So we get a lot of experience, we get a lot of calls about poisonings, and they could be everything from snake bites to intentional overdoses of acetaminophen to accidental ingestions of a variety of different products. And what I want to share today are statistics, the other side of this THC and other intoxicating cannabinoid story, and talk about our experience as a 911 call center. Dr. Newton, you're very familiar, being an emergency room physician, of these types of cases coming into your ER. I'm going to tell you the cases that we're seeing here in Georgia and tell you who's getting poisoned, by what, where they end up being treated, and so on. So I'll start off by saying, we're looking at a very troublesome and growing problem in our state, and it's no longer even hiding in plain sight. It's out there for everyone to see, and over the past few years, there have been significant reporting of poisonings due to the legal weed that's out there. In a state where the only legal marijuana and products that are available are prescription and medical grade, THC containing products like this so-called weed are popping up everywhere. Vendors are everywhere, from online retailers to vape shops to gas stations. And a couple months ago, my assistant director was telling me even at youth baseball fields where they're selling these type of products. And so this is obviously a growing concern, and obviously the more these products are sold, the more poisonings are going to be reported. And just to give you an example, after the Farm Bill passed in 2018, we started getting calls in 2019, and in that year, we got less than 100 calls about THC edibles here, sold here in Georgia. And over the years since 2022, that's about 1,340 days since the beginning of 2022, the Poison Center has taken in over 2,600 calls about patients getting into these edibles, 1,900 of which, or 71%, in our most vulnerable population, that's in children. And when you look at the number of cases, and Dr. Newton, you're going to be very sensitive to this, nearly 85% of all the cases that we get are handled in his emergency room. That's staggering that these type of products are causing kids to go into emergency rooms. And what are they being treated for? Obviously, the same kind of things that you get with THC. And we're going to hear today from other people on the chemistry. We heard a little bit from the previous speaker, but it's obvious where these intoxicating cannabinoids or these legal cannabinoids are coming from, and obviously they're coming from hemp. And when you look at the way the Farm Bill was written, the loopholes that started being exploited by, and I use this term in the whole world of synthetics, but when you have these loopholes being exploited by dorm room chemists, the proliferation of these type of intoxicating products has really been problematic for people like us in the healthcare industry. I am 100% certain that our lawmakers never intended to legalize unregulated THC. And especially, when you're talking about legalizing a product that would, significantly harm children. Now, of course, we know that Delta-8 is a psychoactive compound. It's a cousin of Delta-9, fairly well known, and it binds to the same receptors that Delta-9 does. As we already talked about, chemically derived from hemp-derived CBD. But the main problem that we see is how these products are marketed. I was just at a gas station earlier, and when you look at the packaging, when you look at how these things are marketed, they're directed directly at our youth. And so when you're getting into things that look like, taste like, smell like, candy, you could see why poisoning rates in young children are so, they're climbing every year. There's no age checks, no federal regulations. My 10-year-old niece could walk into a gas station and buy these products. It's just heartbreaking. When you think about those cases I told you about, managed in a healthcare facility, over the years, as I mentioned, total over the course of the last 3 years, 83.3% of these cases managed in a healthcare facility, and they continue to rise. For example, in 2022, we had 601 cases reported to us, of which 489 were treated in an emergency room. In 2025, we've already had 561 cases, reported to our center, of which 477 were treated in an emergency room. So we know that when you talk about the safety of THC in kids, there is no safe level. I believe 0 milligrams of these type of products is the threshold that we have to worry about. As you heard earlier, edibles, the problem with edibles is they're absorbed slowly, and the kids that are getting poisoned are taking multiples of these because the first 2 or 3 or 4 edibles are not working, and then they're taking more. And so they're getting poisoned. And so as we look at the bottom line in my last minute here that I've been told I have, we do need to figure out how we can close these loopholes and define all intoxicating cannabinoids as controlled substances. There should be zero access for children. How do we get to near zero? Well, we've got to treat these like cannabinoid products that are legal in other states, child-resistant enclosures, opaque packaging, no cartoon, no candy branding, and also a call for age restrictions when it comes to purchasing these agents. And when you look at packaging size, I know that's going to be a tricky subject, but like THC, we've got to figure out these doses that if we're going to allow these to continue to be sold, how we could limit the amount of THC, Delta-8s, Delta-10s, and other intoxicant cannabinoids in these products. We've got to minimize the occurrence of emergency room visits. And for me, if we could just save one child, we've done our job. Thank you, Dr.
Doctor,
Haney.
thank you for that. We do have a couple with questions. And once again, I do want to thank you on behalf of all the emergency room staff. Your organization has been a lifesaver when we just read you out a pill number and you give us a written action plan even before we're sure what's going on. It's been a life-saving organization. Thank you for that. I do believe some of Georgia's regulations have already addressed that. Maybe Commissioner Harper will mention that. Some of the things you mentioned about the word unregulated and kids, and I believe there's some actions we've already taken. Not to say we don't need to do more or tighten it up or have more funds available for better enforcement. Those may all still be true, but I did just want to check with you on that if one piece of this, because we just heard from the Adult Beverage Alliance, and I think we have somebody later, is what you've mostly seen when children are intoxicated or damaged or injured by these. Is it mostly the edibles, especially the ones that look like candies? They aren't taking them on purpose and has anyone really ever, that you know of, have there been a lot of overdoses from drinking a bunch of those cans of beverages, or is it usually the edibles?
It's primarily the edibles, and some of these both in accidental ways, where parents might have left them out because they're still in that colorful packaging, the candy packaging, and a young child's not going to be able to discern candy from, toxin. And then the other thing is I just did a story on local news where these products were passed out, and these young teenagers were taking multiples of these and then going into the emergency room. It's surprising to me in the last few months how many kids I've seen and rounded on in ICUs after being intoxicated by these edibles. I never used to see that perhaps when I was younger, and I might have consumed, I'll be honest, I might have consumed, I might have inhaled, I might have taken part back when I was in college. But this ain't your grandmother's weed that's out there now. And now that I'm much older and I'm seeing the other side of it from a medical standpoint, it's heartbreaking when I see a 3-year-old on a ventilator because they ate a handful of edibles.
Now, one thing that I did get a question from one of our members, Catherine Russell, mentioned that SB 494, which is 2024 bill, no sales under 21, child-resistant, tamper-evident packaging, and no advertising or packaging that's attractive to children. Would you say those are steps in the right direction for a state? And possibly, if you've been at a convenience store or wherever it was you found that particular item, and we have seen them other places. Our understanding from a recent meeting was there's over 7,000 retail locations. You know, do you have 7,000 agents working on this, sir? I think so. I think Georgia has taken some steps, but obviously we're in this middle ground to where we've taken the steps, but we may not have fully funded what's needed. I'm going to go to Representative Williams first. If you, we'll try to keep our questions brief, though.
What you're doing. You mentioned some numbers in the emergency room, I think around 2,500 in a 2 or 3 year period. How does that match up against your total visits because of even illegal drugs or whatever? How does that match up percentage-wise?
Yeah, it's funny, with THC, the numbers are dramatically higher because a lot of these products are being packaged and marketed, you know, in candy-like form. Obviously, when you're talking about kids who might be getting into acetaminophen or ibuprofen, those numbers are dramatically lower in terms of the numbers that we see in the emergency rooms. Because, look, it probably looks more like medicine than these products that they're getting into looking more like candy. So the percentages of kids getting into our emergency rooms as a result of these, you know, it's at a much higher rate than, say, traditional pharmaceuticals.
Thank you. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Dr. Newton, Chairman Newton, appreciate it. You pretty well covered some of the points that I was going to make to Dr. Lopez's points. Is there are a number of things that you addressed that we have addressed in state law. The key point there is obviously we've got to work to continue to enforce those, and we are doing that, working with local law enforcement and others. Matter of fact, we have arrested individuals for underage sales. We have taken numerous products off the shelf. And we do so daily, especially those that meet some of those criteria, whether they're attractive to children or they do not meet the standard under Georgia law. But if it is a hemp product, regardless of the Delta 9 concentration, and I know where you're going with Delta 8, but if it is a hemp product, it is still subject to all of those rules and regulations under Georgia law. And so we are definitely going after those. And I would like to know what gas station you might have got that from, so we can maybe go have a little look-see, because we're doing that. You know, we do a lot of complaint-based investigations, and there may be some opportunity there where we can ensure that where there may be some upticks in particular parts of our state, if there was a way that our agency or even local law enforcement could find a way to work together. I know there's privacy laws and there's other things that might hinder us in some capacity, but there may be a way for us to ensure that when those hotbeds are being seen, that we're ensuring that we're investigating those particular areas and those particular parts of the state. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that that kids aren't getting hurt too. That's our goal at the department, and will continue to be so. And I think we've addressed some of the things that you have brought up. But obviously it takes resources, as Dr. Newton mentioned, and we're going to continue to work with our local partners on that, and we've actually built a really robust partnership with our locals already and doing some things that have been very successful, and we're going to continue to address those issues. But as those things arise, I think there's an opportunity for us to learn more about what you're seeing and where those hot spots may be, and how we can work to ensure that we're addressing those.
Yeah, and thanks for those comments. And as a last piece, I mean, the Poison Center would love to be way more involved in surveillance and education. And if there's some way, and I'm a shameless plug, if there's some way that perhaps funding can be directed at a place like a Poison Center that can go and do these kind of community events, inform and educate the public of these dangers, you know, we could be in partnership. If we're going to exist, let's coexist, you know, holding hands and not against one another. And if we could, you know, have a little bit of funding in there as well, we'd love to be able to be part of the solution.
Well, thank you. One last question, Chairman of Agriculture, Chairman Dickey. Oh, sorry, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I read that wrong. Ridley.
I did have a question.
Go ahead, Chairman Dickey. We will try to keep them quick. We got a lot of presenters.
You go into great detail about the Delta 8, but we just heard the previous speaker about Delta 9. You don't see issues with Delta 9, but you do with Delta 8. Give me a little chemistry.
What I have
yes.
problems with are all the intoxicating cannabinoids that are synthesized and that are manufactured from legal CBD and hemp. So there are a number of other intoxicating cannabinoids that are THC-like. Obviously, Delta 9 is illegal here. The problem is when you look at Delta 8s and Delta 10s, you probably know the formula. They're about half to 3/4 the strength of Delta 9 THC, the legal stuff. That's still problematic because all you need to do to get to that higher level is taking 2 or 3 more. And so I don't think we ever intended it to be that way, and to have these things manufactured where you're looking at toxic chemicals that have to be used in this acid conversion of CBD to Delta 8. You're going to look at
Talking about more of the unregulated.
Yeah, those are the
industry.
unregulated things that we've got to
Sorry,
make sure.
I hate to cut you off. We got one more question and some
Okay,
other
okay.
speakers. Representative Ridley.
Well, thank you for the interest.
Well, one last one.
I'll keep it short. Like Rick Williams, or Representative Williams' question, you compare the overdose issue to things like ibuprofen and acetaminophen. How does it compare to things like alcohol or methamphetamine or fentanyl or other things that are already illegal?
Yeah, so when you look at childhood poisoning as it relates to alcohol, our cases of Delta edibles far outrank those to regular alcohol. One of the things that took over in 2022 was exposure to hand sanitizer, which is alcohol. But since COVID has died down, those exposures to alcohol have declined.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for you and your team's work. Please express our gratitude. Thanks, you.
Dr.
Charlotte Spell, if you can come on up. Thank you, ma'am. We'll ask you to aim for 5 minutes, if you don't mind. I know that's a tight schedule, and we will try to. Thank you. If you can just introduce yourself and begin. We will have the yellow and red cards to help you.
I'm not sure if it's going to come up on the screen. No. Okay. So, yes, I'm Charlotte Spell. I am a certified prevention professional here in Georgia, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak with you. Some of the things that I have prepared, I think, have already been discussed, so that will help. I'm just going to flip on over. I watched the live stream meeting, the first meeting, and I saw at the end that there were some questions about some of the semi-synthetic cannabinoids besides Delta 8. So you hear a lot about Delta 8 and you've heard about Delta 9. What about the THCO, the Delta 10, the THCP, the HHC? If it was on the screen, you would see these products that the packaging, if you just try to figure out what is inside this box based on the packaging, you would see, well, it probably tastes good because it's got fruit on the packaging or donuts or something like that.
Quick question, I won't hold it against you, but are those ones that comply with our current Georgia law that we were just discussing about packaging not attractive to children? Are you saying those, or are those the exemptions who just, we haven't gotten our enforcement to them?
They do not have cartoon characters on them. So that is one question that I've been receiving from people in the profession is, to what extent does appealing to youth
Okay,
go?
go ahead with
So
your- sorry.
I think that's, some people are like, well, is that, if it has a piece of fruit on it, is that appealing to kids? We know the cartoon characters, the mimics of like Skittles and Sour Patch Gummies and that stuff is. We have seen with our youth, that's my main focus is our youth, that consumption has changed. The trends have changed since nicotine vaping has become much of an epidemic among our youth. It has served as an easy transition for youth to transition to vaping THC products. I just received a call yesterday from a mom that her 13-year-old daughter was caught with a vape, and she had it drug tested, and she tested positive for THC. She's 13 years old. I will skip the statistics on that. I really wanted to get to the different synthetics. So I have on my slide, and I guess maybe I can get these to you via email or some way, but some of the products that are on here, I would not consider these to be necessarily packaged in a way that's appealing to youth besides the flavors, because they are labeled with Girl Scout cookies, rainbow sherbet, that kind of thing. But the packaging itself does not look that appealing. So the main component in these on this particular slide is THCO. And I was going to just give you a brief little explanation about how THCO is made. So you asked, does this meet our requirements about the packaging? Well, this meets the requirements about 0.3% delta-9 dry weight. So basically, CBD is extracted from hemp, legal. CBD is then converted into delta-8 THC. And then, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, acetic anhydride, which is a chemical, is added to the delta-8 THC, and the result from this is a product called THO. THO is potent, which is a result of its unique chemical structure. Unlike naturally occurring cannabinoids, THCO is semi-synthetic, made in a laboratory via chemical modification of delta-8. Because of this chemical modification, THCO can cross the blood-brain barrier more efficiently and bind with the cannabinoid receptors in the brain, resulting in stronger effects. So whenever people try to determine, and I know we don't have, a quick and easy way if someone's pulled over for impaired driving to give them a test to see if they're impaired. Mostly we have to rely on drug recognition experts. But the impact, the effects of a product such as this that has THCO is reported, and we only can go by anecdotal reports from people who have been using these products, that the effects last 4 to 6 hours. So, that's more than the 100 and something minutes I heard earlier. 4 to 8 hours, I'm sorry, on here, depending on the potency of the product. And many of these products are hybrids, so they contain delta-8, delta-9, THCO, HHC. It's just like alphabet soup. And for the most part, I don't think that many people, especially our young people, are going to take the time to try to research and figure out what all these synthetic cannabinoids are and what they're going to do to you. They are actually now not only selling the vapes at schools, they're selling hits off of the vapes. And I did a webinar because people have asked questions about the vape products in particular, because that's really what is problematic in our schools with our school children. And they ask how many puffs are in a vape. So this is a 1 gram cart, vape cart. Again, this does not look appealing. It's just pink and purple, kind of ombre color. 1 gram cart should equal to around 200 to 300 hits or puffs, depending on how long they take a drag. So, if you're just that's your probably 200 to 300. But if you got somebody that just hangs on a little while, you're not going to get your 200 to 300. How much THC is in each puff? Again, if they're taking just a normal kind of hit off of it, it comes down to about 4 milligrams per hit. So if students, and they are, take these to school, they can easily conceal them in different ways. There's actually smell-proof backpacks that are sold specifically for this reason. And they have, this is the concern, is that they have constant access to these products. So does that mean 5 minutes? 2 minutes, 2 minutes, okay. So they have constant access to these products. So it's not like in, you know, that 70s show where you've got 6 or 7 kids sitting around a circle passing one joint. No, you've got multiple kids with a whole cart that can give them 200 to 300 hits in whatever amount of time they want it. So they have constant accessibility. And I also wanted to look to see how affordable this is to youth. So again, this particular product is 2 gram, this one is 2 gram, disposable, and you can get 3 of those for $49. It has 81.5% THC, the psychoactive ingredient, and 0.15% CBD, the non-psychoactive ingredient. So basically, it comes up to around 3 to 4 cents per hit. Now, we love entrepreneurship, and we love for our youth to come up with ways to make money. But when they're going into the schools and they're selling hits off of these vapes, I'm sure they're making money off of it. But 3 to 4 cents per hit, that's very affordable for kids. I mean, the Tooth Fairy could bring them money that would definitely get them high. If I can just, I wish I could show you this table because I know there were questions about the edibles with the amount of THC that's in the edibles and what does 0.3% Delta-9 dry weight look like. So a single 5 milligram gummy could contain 15 milligrams of Delta-9. So it still meets that legal requirement because by dry weight, it meets the legal requirement. But after they concentrate it and change it, it comes out a different product with 15 milligrams of Delta-9. And a 20 milligram pack of gummies has 60 milligrams of Delta-9. So it's just, there's a lot of different products that are out there, and I don't know exactly what all you have looked at because the market continues to expand. But not only the beverages that are the prepackaged beverages, there are little bottles of THC syrup that they can add to their drinks or little powder packets that they can add to their drinks. The dip pouches that now have THC. And there's just, if you can imagine it, it's probably out there. So I thank you for the time, and I hope that's a little bit more information than you had before.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your presentation and for your work. I know you're trying to. You mentioned a lot about children and
Yes.
youth, which we have made illegal in Georgia, but perfecting that is something we certainly want to work on. And the question about the synthetics and the alternatives or alternate ways of an intoxicating chemical being synthesized. Certainly, we want to address those as best we can. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Dunn, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Bell, for your comments. I think all of us are concerned about the synthetics and the damage that some children have been incurred. But there are no hemp products in Georgia that are legal unless you're 21 and older. It seems like to me that the issue is similar to underage drinking, which has been going on since the beginning of time, and it's not a lot we can do with that now. I know that the commissioner and his staff are going after these illegal sales. And certainly if somebody was selling something in a school, that's totally illegal. And I want to assure you that the commissioner and his staff are doing everything they can to get a handle on that. But he said earlier it's a resource issue. The legislature has given him more enforcement officers in the last budget, and they'll probably help him again in the future. But no hemp products in this state are legal unless you're 21.
I
And
know.
if they are getting into children's hands, there's illegal activity going on, and that, we need to know about that if you have any information on who's doing it and where it's happening, so that the enforcement people can take it over.
Yes, sir. And I
Thank you.
think too, I am very thankful that it's 21 and over now, but some of these effects are also impacting the 21 to 25-year-olds.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to change just a little bit, since we have gotten into what are some of the products that we think are being sold that are not legal. I want to call on one a little lower on the list, Dylan Lyons. If you could come on up, I'd like to hear from someone who's involved in one of these stores, but what we call a good actor as opposed to a bad actor. At least that's our understanding. So thank you for being here. If you can just introduce yourself real briefly and,
Yes, sir.
tell us a little bit about what you see on the effort.
So, first off, my name's Dylan Lyons. I own our company's Your CBD store. We have been around since 2018. We have 8 locations, and we started here in Augusta. We actually have a location, a couple minutes down the road. So anyway, we've been here forever. As you said, a good actor. We've always tried to be ahead of legislation. From the time we opened, we had a sign on the door, 21 and over, right? So we don't have that problem. We're checking IDs. That's not going to come into our store. I did just briefly wanted to touch on a couple other things. I know THCO was just mentioned. That's banned on a federal level at this point. So if anyone's selling that, like you touched on, Representative, we got to call into the enforcement guys. If things like this, without knowledge, they're not going to be able to stop it, right?
You do know of bad actors around that might be doing that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As someone in the industry. Okay.
Listen, I go around just because I'm in the industry, and I'll pop in. I might pop in a vape shop or smoke shop and see what's going on. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing the stuff that is banned from the SB 494 that passed a couple years ago. So, and I am gonna try to speed it up. I know we're on a tight timeline, so I will focus on some of those items. Let's see. So, basically, with the rules and regulations like we discussed, I know a lot of this was left out, but there is a labeling requirement with a warning sticker. Clear and accurate information on the labels regarding the contents, certificate of analysis so you know it's legal. Total disclosure of THC in milligrams has to be disclosed, has to be included in the testing. Again, I'm just going to briefly go through some of these requirements. Advertising that does not attract children in any way or fashion, like we discussed. In Georgia, we already have one of the strictest serving and packaging restrictions in the United States. 10 milligrams total Delta-9 per gummy, 300 Delta-9 THC per package. Beverages, what they're trying to do, beverages not containing more than 10 milligrams of Delta-9 THC in 12 ounces, not exceed 12 ounces per container. These are some of the things that, and we believe in, we follow, right? So, if the regulations were actually enforced, like we're talking about, there would be an overwhelming number of concerns that are being brought up today that would be addressed, they'd be prevented. We wouldn't have these issues. The way the things stand currently, we are, like you said, following the rules. We're operating the way that we see fit and the way to follow the rules and regulations that have been put in place. Let's see. One of the things you talked about with, I'm going to cut over now just to the regulation, because that's what the enforcement matters, I should say. That's what, we're having an issue with. And, as Mr. Harper touched on, Agent Harper earlier, he had some good points. He is out there trying to do his job. The problem is he doesn't have the backing to do it. So there are bad actors everywhere. Getting back to that, I see them in Augusta. I see them when I'm out of town. I see them everywhere. A lot of them are gas stations. They may or may not have a hemp license. A hemp license is only $250. How are they going to get a budget to be able to enforce these rules and regulations with there basically being no barrier to entry there? I don't think, trying to get alcohol in the mix, I mean, do we want liquor stores to come in and save our day and help, the public? I don't know if that's the answer. I do think that by maybe increasing the licensing fee from $250, which is what it is currently, I don't know why we wouldn't have it at $2,500, right? I mean, the people that are selling these bad products as a small part, behind the shelf at a gas station of their business, they'll just say screw it and they won't do it anymore. A lot of that would eliminate the issues while also, giving us more money to help Agent Harper and others that are trying to do their job. There's no excise tax right now. We've got to do that, right? So, if we have more money there to actually go again towards this enforcement, that's going to help us out. These are just small, simple things that would help because, like I said, the regulations are there, they're in place. We follow them. There's already a supply chain going, like what the distributor was discussing. We've been doing it for 8 years. We test at extraction. We test at the batch. So we actually test more than their proposal. State law already requires 21 and over. It really, to me, it all goes to under enforcement. I just have to touch on the poison numbers a bit. I understand where he's coming from. I actually pulled the data from the website. In that same time frame, cleaning solutions have caused 10,000 hospital visits in kids under 5. Toys have caused 6,300 hospital visits in kids under 5. I don't know what the age group he was talking about, but that's just under 5 years old in that same time frame. I didn't see any data, maybe he has some, but it wasn't publicly available, on the method of consumption. I know he kind of focused in on gummies. I don't know that they're actually saying, hey, did they take a gummy? Did they drink it? How is it consumed? They just know that this kid consumed THC one way or another, right? And that goes to the packaging. Again, something that's already in place, but if they're buying it from somewhere that doesn't have child-safe packaging, that's going to be a problem. If they're buying products that should already be banned, that's a problem, right? Our products don't look easy for kids or for kids, and they're not accessible for kids. I have trouble opening half of the stuff that we sell. So, to me, it's the same as, prescriptions, right? They're required to be in certain containers that a kid has trouble opening or would have a problem with. You are still going to have a ton of hospital visits from kids that get into medications. But it's a lot more than what the actual data on the Georgia Poison Center website suggests. The main thing is, again, these regulations were put in place by very smart people like you, and we just got to follow it and follow the enforcement. I don't think there's a reason to change. I think we've got a good plan. We just got to find a way to get more money to the people that need it to actually enforce. That's pretty much all I got. I know I was bouncing back and forth. That timeline got me a little nervous up
Sorry,
here.
when we change it right on the fly like that,
Yeah.
it is challenging. Thank you for that. Thank you for the attention. We don't often hear people say, yeah, sure, raise my licensing fee and increase enforcement and scrutiny of my store.
Yeah.
But I think it's because you recognize that the bad actors are both harming children and others, and at the same time also harming the industry.
Look,
we have bad actors in my field as well, so
Yeah.
we certainly want to do the enforcement.
I've got my 4-year-old's right at, actually I had to text my wife to pick him up. He's at EDS right next door, so.
Thank you for
protect
being
them.
here. We'll let you get out and do your
Okay.
father duties. Thank you for adjusting on the schedule there.
Thank you for the time, guys.
See you, Dylan. Lynn Reimer, if you can come on up for us.
Hello, I'm online.
Oh, I'm sorry, she's online?
She is.
Yeah, can I share my PowerPoint with you guys?
Yes.
Come in just a minute.
Yes, you can.
We are going to try to hold it to 7 to 8 minutes, a little time for questioning if you can. I don't know if you can see us.
I can see you, sort
All
of.
right, then I'll raise a yellow flag one time, but go ahead. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah,
If you can
just-
introduce yourself and your organization and then give us there, I see.
Can you see it?
We're getting there. Turn the top left, right. Go ahead and start. We can see you.
Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
We're seeing a blue screen right now.
It says your screen is paused.
No, it ain't ever started.
Let's see, the video looks right.
See, stop sharing and try again.
Well,
Okay, let's try again. So I go to share. And I hit presentation.
yeah, double click there, it says to enter full screen.
Where do you want me to double click?
I think it was for us to do,
Oh. Let me put it in PowerPoint mode and see if that'll help. Does that help?
We're not receiving it. We're just seeing a blank screen.
Yeah, all I see on mine is your screen sharing is paused. And I don't understand if that's something that I need access to share on your side.
You should have access. Are you seeing it on yours? No, see.
let's,
So
why don't we hold off just a second, Ms. Reimer? If you can't do it without if it wouldn't be as good without the PowerPoint, we'll see if we can work on that, and we'll skip on down to the next presenter.
Yeah, and I believe it's coming from your side, just a heads up, because we have multiples showing that you're not sending it. So
It's not receiving on your end?
I don't think you're sending it from yours.
Yeah, I'm sharing it from my desktop.
You want to
All
move
right,
on?
let's just hold off for just a minute. If we can just
Okay.
blank the screen just a moment, and we'll get back to you. Thank you for being with us. But
Okay.
right now, I would like Deputy Warner, if you could, if you're prepared, if you could come up. We do want to hear. We have mentioned something about briefly. If you come up, we've mentioned about the challenge of the similarity with intoxication with a beer or a glass of wine. We haven't come up with a clear rationale for, right now they can measure how much wine an individual has had that confirms intoxication, their suspicion after observing something. So if you can give us a little update on that, and then just what you're seeing with the, if you can introduce yourself briefly and let us know.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Keith Warner. I'm with the County Sheriff's Office.
You will have to stay behind the microphone. I apologize.
Sorry, I'm a wanderer when I talk.
You can go back and forth, but we have people listening through
I'm sorry.
live stream. Thank you, sir. And
So-
thank you for your work.
My pleasure. So what I'm here today is talk about ways that we find the impaired driver, mainly people that are under drugs. Anybody can be under alcohol. It's widely used, widely abused. Alcohol is, the main drug, but we mainly look for drugs. I'm a DRE, so this is what I look for. So, because we're talking about drugs, we need to know what we're talking about first. So what is a drug? A drug is any substance which, when taken in the human body, can affect a person's ability to operate a motor vehicle safely. Okay? Alcohol, of course, that's an easy one. Illegal drugs, prescription medications are even a good one out there that we see. A lot of people self-medicate. What one pill did for 6 months is not affecting me anymore. Now I'm up to 2. So they're changing their own medication on the fly, and they're becoming an impaired driver. And then the other intoxicants that are out there, paints, glue, cough syrup for kids that like to buy it and they drink the whole thing all at once, and now we have an impaired child at school. So, because we're talking about medical marijuana and other drugs, one thing we have to worry about is our prescribed doses, okay? Prescribed doses are medication doses that are prescribed by a medical doctor to a patient under their care. These doses amounts are based on a patient's needs at that time. A lot of factors are in play with this. One is the age of the patient, weight and body composition that they're dealing with, organ function. Are these pills or medication that they're getting actually going to affect other organs that process these drugs, that synthesize them in their body? Severity of the condition, any other medications that the patient may have. We might have an added effect. If I'm on one medication, I get another, now my impairment is double, okay? and the route of administration, the way it's taken. Orally, is it injected, is it smoked? For the law enforcement officer, our detection is out on the street. There's two ways we can find them. One, I can find them, or they find somebody else in an accident and kill someone. So for me as a uniformed officer out there trying to find this person and keep people safe, I work off 3 phases. My first phase is finding the vehicle in motion. I'm out driving, observing vehicles on the roadway. I'm looking for violations of law, indicators that show impairment, weaving. Somebody that's passed out behind the wheel that sat at a green light for 3 cycles, okay? Anything that draws my attention to it that shows maybe an impaired driver. Phase 2 of my detection is personal contact. Now, I've had probable cause to stop the vehicle, pull it over. Now my contact is with the driver. That is where my investigation is leading me to. It's my personal contact. What am I seeing from the driver? Can they function doing 2 things for me? A divided attention. Answer a question and give me your driver's license. Somebody that's impaired can't divide their attention. They can't do 2 things at once. Phase 3, pre-arrest screening. So I've talked to the driver. I've seen signs of impairment just from there. Red marking of the conjunctiva. The smell of burnt marijuana coming from their car. Slurred speech. Disoriented or fumbling, trying to just get their driver's license for me. So now I've made that decision, this person, I need to go further with my investigation. So I asked them to exit the vehicle and come back to the car with me. From this point, I'm going to make a decision whether I need to go further and perform field sobriety with this person. Now we're talking about marijuana, cannabis, and hemp. So of course, one of my tests is not going to work on somebody under that drug. So horizontal gaze nystagmus and vertical nystagmus is not going to function. I'm not going to see it on somebody on cannabis, hemp, or marijuana, okay? The other 2, my walk and turn and my one-leg stand, is going to affect them. It's a divided attention test. They can't do 2 things at once. They can't focus on their feet, walk at the same time, and count out loud for me. The ability's gone. My next test that I would incorporate in there is something that, of course, it affects the eyes. The lack of convergence. Somebody that's under influence of marijuana, hemp, or cannabis, their eyes are not able to converge. So I have a test that I do and see if their eyes will converge or not. If they lack the convergence, I have somebody that's under the influence of marijuana, cannabis, or hemp. At that time, I'm a DRE, so I can go ahead further with my tests. I'll ask the person if they want to participate in a 12-step drug process that I evaluate them on. I look at different functions of the body, how it affects them. I take their blood pressure, their pulse, I look at their eyes, I look at their nose, I look at injection sites, okay?
Excuse, real quick, this is where it's different from if you suspect alcohol is the cause of an intoxication, is this a different study you're doing?
Yes.
It's
now
when you
I'm
don't
looking-
smell alcohol.
No alcohol, I've negated
It could
that.
be prescription drugs, it could be non-prescription drugs.
It could be illegal drugs, prescription
Okay.
medications.
So this is a separate from your normal DUI that's due to alcohol.
Alcohol-based DUI, yes.
Those are different. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep. And I'm going to take them through that process, and from my results, I'm going to put them in one of my drug categories. The drug matrix right now has 7 different categories, and I'm able to put them in there and see the impairment. So, again, field sobriety, yeah, it's going to show some signs of it, and the other signs are going to be obvious for me when I'm doing my tests. I have them tilt their head back, stick their tongue out. People who smoke marijuana, cannabis, hemp, it raises your taste buds. It leaves a green coating on your tongue. Very easy telltale sign of somebody that's under the influence of marijuana, cannabis, or hemp, okay? Also, they might have some of the product around their mouth, especially if they're smoking it. They have leaf product around their mouth or on their shirts from where they're rolling a joint, smoking a blunt, okay? Also something at this point, if it is an officer that does not have the DRE training, they can go ahead and contact one to respond to the scene and help them out. Take over, because it's not alcohol, which is an easy one to process. Now we're going a little bit further. Some of our onset of effects and the durations of them, talking about cannabis, marijuana, and hemp, these are not set in stone because we have other factors. The person's age, weight, body composition is going to play into this. So for smoking cannabis, marijuana, and hemp, we have a 1 to 5 minute onset, pretty fast. It's coming into the lungs, it's absorbed pretty quickly. The duration of those effects that we're going to see is 3 to 4 hours. Somebody who's ingesting edibles, it's going to be 30 to 90 minutes, and it's going to last up to 8 hours. Okay, the impairment's going to be there for 8 hours. Vaping, we have 1 to 5 minutes. Again, it's going right into the lungs, absorbed quickly. You're going to have about a 1 to 3 hour onset of effects. So you will see it for a longer time. And then transdermal, through the skin. It's 10 to 45 minutes. It's going to last 2 to 6 hours. Again, that's not set in concrete, but that is our normal areas. Those are our normal time frames. So with this, yes, there is not a concrete set in stone test that I can find the amount of level of cannabis in somebody's bloodstream. We do a blood draw. It gives us a positive or negative for alcohol or this legal drug or marijuana. And off of that is where I have to base my decision further down the road when I get my results back. It would be nice if we had something alongside the road, but I make that arrest decision on my knowledge, training, and experience, and I go from there.
Thank you for your work keeping us safe. The DRE stands for?
Drug Recognition Expert.
So that's a class you've taken, and only certain deputies have taken it, right?
It's an international certification, and currently there's, I want to say, 1% of law enforcement is drug recognition experts.
And is that what it takes to make an impaired accusation, especially after a wreck or something, stand up in court, so to speak?
Any officer can make the case, but in order to make a solid one, you want to have an expert come and test that person.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, you've seen me at the emergency room plenty of times.
Yes.
Processing my scenes, processing folks that have been in there from impairment. It's part of the job, so I'm usually there because I'm the drug expert.
Well, thank you for that extra training. We do have a couple questions from committee members. Dr. Fowler, I believe you were first.
First, Deputy, I want to thank you for your testimony as we all examine this hemp industry. The study committee is also charged with the medical cannabis as well, and it sounded to me like the majority of the testimony that you gave was about illicit cannabis use. And I did want to take this opportunity to invite you and any law enforcement, Sheriff Association to Glenville, where the manufacturing facility is located for the patients that are registered for medical cannabis to review security and any patient safeguards and all patient safeguards that we have in place.
So if I may just throw this out there, granted, cannabis, hemp is low, but if I have one gummy, yeah, that's only 3%, correct? What if I have a handful of gummies? Now what's my percentage in my body? That's what we're working towards, is not legal use. We're talking about the person that likes to overindulge in this. That's what we're after, okay? So don't just think it's a low amount. When you start adding more and more and more onto it, that's where that impairment comes from. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we're trying to enforce.
Chairman Powell.
Yeah. Keith, thank you for your presentation. And I'm looking at that chart that you have up there and everything. That it stays in your system for a number of days.
Yes, sir. Marijuana, cannabis, hemp can be in your system up to 30 days with testing.
But I'm looking at your chart up there, and I'm trying to get my hands around something that we had heard, is that even though it may show, a blood test may show that it's still in your system from prior use, but there's a hot zone that you were under the influence during this hot zone.
Yes, sir, that's
Can you
the
talk
time.
about that a little bit, whether they perfected any of the tests for that to determine whether somebody's in that hot zone, and it's not just that someone had indulged a week or two earlier, 2 or 3 days, or even the day before?
So the way we do that is through my field sobriety examinations. If they are failing them, just like a person who's impaired with alcohol, it'll show the same results. They can't function like a sober person. So that's the time frame we work with. Yeah, it might, if I don't see any, even though I got a blood draw, it might still show up in their system if they had it 2 weeks ago. But through my field evaluations, I can determine if they're under the influence or not. But just because it's in their system, it might not be an impairment.
Representative Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the work you do. My wife was an ER nurse, and y'all both have a lot on your plate. I get it, but just want to question. So currently, basically, what you're saying is that we do not have a field sobriety test, a medical field sobriety test, that it has to be done by a physical, active field sobriety test. Is that correct?
Yes, for drugs. It's my field sobriety examination, and then I will request a blood draw. So I will process a person for driving under the influence based on my training, my experience, and my knowledge, and the observations I'm getting from that person. And then I do a blood draw. When I get it returned, it kind of seals the deal for me.
Sure. And this is a friendly question. This is just one thing that I'm interested in. Is if that's an international certification, and do they have studies on the validity of the testing, like how often it comes back a false positive, or how often?
Oh, I could give you tons of studies on it that are for and against. But yes, it has been scientifically validated that the field evaluations are good.
Yeah, that's what I was just checking on.
Yep.
Thank you so much, sir.
May depend on your attorney. Well, thank you for your work, number one, but also for taking some time to be here with us and educate us on a challenging issue. And if we have further questions, I hope we can reach out to you and your department, your sheriff, to enlighten us better. Certainly, you mentioned other prescription drugs, opiates, for example, that we prescribe, but you shouldn't be driving when you're on them. It could be several things, but thank you for the work you and your fellow deputies are doing.
My pleasure, sir.
We are going to go now to looks like Justin Ashby. If you can come on up with us, sir. Thank you for being here. And if you can just tell us about briefly about your organization. And we are, once again, on our tight time schedule. So thank you for being here.
Understood. Thank you all. Mr. Chairman and everyone on the committee, appreciate you having us. My name is Justin Ashby. I'm with Southern Crown Partners out of Fitzgerald, Georgia. We are a fourth-generation family company that's been serving and selling and distributing alcohol in the state of Georgia since the repeal of Prohibition in 1933. And we've been safely bringing a very regulated consumer product in the form of alcohol to market since that time. And more recently, last year when Senate Bill 494 passed, we decided to also become a wholesaler of consumable hemp products. And I just wanted to commend Commissioner Harper, Catherine, Harlan, the whole team over at the Ag Department for their help during this process, because it's a privilege to sell alcohol. And if we want to take the bad actors out of this space, we need to continue to do the good work to make it a privilege to sell these products in the state of Georgia. We've definitely seen the Ag Department's efforts helping us get products, illicit products, out of the market. A lot of the concerns that have been brought up today are actually addressed by the current law, by the current rules and regulations. And I'd like to echo the comments from the gentleman from the Your CBD store. We want more regulation. We want tax to help the department enforce the current laws of the state. And I know it's not often that you get businesses asking for that, but coming from alcohol, that's all we've ever known. And would love to see the department continue to be able to do that with these consumable hemp products in the state of Georgia. I know we're way out of time, so I'll leave it brief and keep it at that unless y'all have any questions.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for coming from Fitzgerald to be with us. And looks like no questions right now, so we will keep moving. I think at this point, or if we're Were we able to get Ms. Reimer back on, or?
We were attempting to get her PowerPoint from her, but she hasn't been able to send it to us, but we can try to see
We
if
will
she
go
can bring it
ahead
up.
with our public testimony. We do have a number of individuals who have maybe made a trip to be here, and thank you for being here. And I'm going to just start with the organizations. We're going to try to hold it to about 2 to 3 minutes apiece. We will give you a yellow at 1 minute, and if you can come on up, Mr. Mumper, Michael Mumper. And we are going to get started here. If you can keep it to 2 minutes, I know that's a lot to ask. I'm going to warn everyone else, and that leaves us a couple of minutes for questions if we need to. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Michael Mumper, the Executive Director of Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. Thank you, Chairman, and the committee, and everyone who helped make this happen. Georgia's at a turning point. On one side, we know that the science has not caught up with the rapid growth of intoxicating hemp products. Delta-9 is just one of them. It could be argued that with the industry being as highly innovative as it is, with non-compliance being as high as it is, with new cannabinoid products seeming to be generated every month, that prohibition is the only real safe solution until more science comes out to tell us how these poisonings are happening, what is safe levels of consumption. But we also know that if the political will is to keep consumable hemp products legal, we urge you to adopt the strongest possible framework. Other states and even other industries, like alcohol, show us what's needed. There's 6 things I'm going to say real quick, and I'm going to end it there. One is clearly defining which products are legal, and then everything else is not legal, so nothing slips through by omission. 2 is putting firm limits on weight, volume, and potency. We do not have all those weights and limits and potencies on today's form of THC, not just for gummies, but also for vapes and every other consumable. 3 is creating a 3-tier system like alcohol. Producers, distributors, and retailers with sales flowing in that order with no vertical integration and full traceability from start to finish. That's 3. 4 is funding, enforcement, and requiring tracking of online sales. If Charlotte Spell's testimony earlier was not absorbed, it was that our kids are getting this stuff, whether it's legal or regulated or not. We have to find new innovative ways to enforce online sales. 5 is banning advertising that normalizes use among youth. And 6 is aligning Georgia law with federal law if prohibition of hemp consumables happens at the national level. So our message is simple. Prohibition is the safest option, but if Georgia decides otherwise, then a framework must be strong, enforceable, and built to protect public health before industry profits. Thank you.
Thank you for your timely testimony, Mary Adams. And I appreciate one thing you did there as you go, detailing some points, because we've heard a lot about the problems. We've heard of tragedies in homes. We've heard of a lot of benefit that brings to others, but we aren't getting as many. Well, we're getting now to the point where we're getting some ideas for potential recommendations. How can we make it better? How can we ban the ones that are maybe showing up as more dangerous? So thank you for delineating those.
We'd be
6
happy to
points. I
help
hope
with
you'll
that
share
kind of
them with us.
language. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Adams. Now, this is a hemp-based meeting, but glad to have you give us a couple of moments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I drove all the way from Roswell before being aware that you were just going to discuss hemp. But hemp does come into play with my conversations with my patients. I own a medical cannabis doctor's clinic here in Georgia, and since we only have 2 minutes, I'll cut my comments short. Regulation is very important. As we know, part of the problem and the issues that we have in Georgia is we have a highly regulated program that doesn't meet the needs of the patients for the medical side. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you in Macon and getting a little bit more time. Thank you.
Thank you for your drive. I apologize for not being clear that we are trying to divide and conquer. Thank you. David Rabaugh, if you could come on up. We do have, as has been mentioned, our regulations over the last 7 to 8, 9 years on medical cannabis have been tightened up dramatically with 24-hour scrutiny, video scrutiny of the medical cannabis growing facilities here in Georgia with the 3 licensees and the 24-hour day sheriff's permission to enter the, so I do know we have a lot of tight regulations on our medical cannabis providers. We'll hear more about that in Macon at the end of the month. Go ahead, Mr.
David Rodabaugh.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner, matter of fact, I've left a voicemail for you as well as an email asking to participate as someone who could get more than 2 minutes. So I'd appreciate your consideration. As a matter of fact, I brought you this lovely cup to help remind you that we're very serious about coming up there and speaking, because there is positive sides to this plant that need to be shared. It's not just negative. It's not just statistics. As a matter of fact, just to be really blunt, cannabis is hemp and marijuana. So as we continue to talk about those issues, even though they're defined differently by the law currently there, if we continue to play games with that, we'll continue to use all of your time making more bad legislation. So along that way, what I've done for everyone to make it easy, and by the way, I did bring a cup for everyone on the panel, and I'd like to approach and give this to you. It's all right. So you do remember my name, remember what I'm here, but the cup is filled with good legislation about cannabis here in Georgia. It's a Georgia Cannabis Freedom Act. It's written, it makes sense. It addresses every aspect of the plant, adult use, recreational use, and the one that everyone forgets to talk about, the benefits to our agriculture and our ecology. If we don't do whole plant, full plant legislation, you'll never have that benefit, which I estimate and can provide information to say when it's done that way, it'll have close to a $10 billion revenue stream for the state. So if I may approach, I know I'm out of time. I'd like to give you this cup. I'm not going to come attack you.
Thank you, sir.
For not being attacked or for the cup.
No, come on, yeah, come on up, and we'll go and get. I brought my sheriff and a deputy with me, so. Alan Hart, if you can come on up.
Sir, my card.
Thank you, sir.
And I do have one for everyone else on the panel.
We will pass those out in a moment. Mr. Hart, if you can come on up and tell us about your organization and.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
My name is Alan Hart. I'm the owner of Classic Sativa, which is a hemp dispensary in Athens, Georgia. We have 2 locations. SB 494 severely hurt us from what we were able to do previously, and it drove a lot of people towards the illicit market. I think if we really want to have safety, we need to regulate and not prohibit. That's really the main
Could you say
sentence.
that one more time? I couldn't quite hear you.
Want
What drove people to the illicit market? What did you say?
SB 494.
Okay, go ahead.
Which coincidentally also cost the state of Georgia roughly 2,500 jobs, according to the Whitney Economics Study. So SB 494 has been really kind of a bad thing for the state of Georgia. Some of the regulations were passed at the last minute in the last legislative cycle in 2024. So I hope that's reviewed. I hope that we get new and better regulation, which is what we're really hoping for. We can do things safer. We can do things safer, and we have done things safe. I had the president of the Poison Control Center here tell us that no milligrams are safe, and yet I know, partly because my 2 daughters, 13 and 15-year-olds, currently have been using CBD gummies for over 5 years. And each of those CBD gummies has roughly 1 milligram of THC in it. And the only repercussion is having a happier lifestyle, being able to sleep better at night, and having better social contact with other human beings. So I want to tell you that cannabis is really quite safe, at least compared to the illicit market. And the more that we put into better regulations for the sake of hemp and for the sake of low THC oils, I think the benefits for the state are vast. Dave mentioned the revenue. You know, this was a $1 billion industry according to the Whitney Economic Study that was published last year. And as of 2025, it looks like we're not going to have $1 billion in revenue across the state of Georgia in the hemp industry. So that's all I really need to say, but I think there's a lot of safety that can be valued and achieved by better regulation and not by prohibition. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, sir, and for your comments. Is it Scotty Ellison? And then after that will be Joseph Lodeholt, if you could start heading your way up to the.
My name's Scotty Ellison. How you doing today, gentlemen? So I am the owner of THC Atlanta. I am also a valedictorian of Oaksterdam University. Does anybody know what Oaksterdam University is? Okay, it is the first federally accredited college in America recognized by the federal government. I am valedictorian of Oaksterdam University. So if anybody here is qualified to speak on marijuana, it's me. Georgia's overregulations have hurt this industry tremendously, tremendously. The fact that you guys decided to ban smokable hemp flower, beyond me. What you've done is killed about 4,000 businesses here in the state of Georgia. Our revenue has shrank about 75%. And for the Poison Center to come up here and say that marijuana is harmful, well, I brought my poison control guy today. His name is Grok, which is, I think, 5 times smarter than every single philosopher and everybody out there. Everybody's familiar with Grok, correct? Okay, so real quick. Oh yeah, AI's great. AI's smarter than all of us at this point. Hey Grok, how you doing today? Oh yeah, Grok's online. Hey Grok, how you doing today?
Hey there. I'm doing great, thanks for asking. So, what's on your mind today?
Excellent. Hey Grok, I have a question for you. How many deaths in the history of human history have been related to cannabis overdose alone?
0. Studies show no recorded deaths from cannabis overdose alone in human history.
How about that?
It's
Hey
basically
Grok, how many overdoses or deaths from fentanyl?
in 2023, about 73,000 people died from fentanyl overdoses in the U.S.
But none
That's
from
roughly
marijuana, right? Just to clarify.
Right, not from marijuana alone.
Okay, thank you, Grok. That's all I needed. That's my testimony today. Overregulation is killing our industry and it's hurting the people in Georgia. Marijuana is a medicine, it's not a poison. Get your facts straight. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today and for bringing your advisor. Joseph Lodeholt? Sorry, Lodeholt. Thank you. And then next will be Jamie Buse. And then Jason Parrish.
Hey, Joseph Lodeholt. I am currently a local business owner in Dublin, Georgia, but by the end of the year, I'll probably be out of business due to 494. And also no offense to the real law enforcement in the back, but the Department of Agriculture's amendment violating, I don't know, citizen, I don't know what's the best word, rights violated or amendments taken away from us. I'm a consumer, also trying to raise my 5 children. I've invested over, I don't know, 100,000 into a business that I don't even get a day in court to see when corruption came in and took half of my products. I could understand if my products was on the shelf, but my products were in the back of my store because I had been in business when I could sell those products. I'm not gonna take them home for my 5 kids to have access to. So I actually called the Department of Agriculture, spoke to Ms. Russell and Bruce, and was told to keep them in the back, out of sight, not there. When I got my, what they call inspection, but more of a search, you know, you go through file cabinets, things in the back of someone's personal space. I had about, I don't know, $2,000 to $3,000 worth of product taken away that came out of my personal pocket that wasn't for sale. And that's driving my very customers, like stated before, back to the black market, including myself, because I'm tired of waiting 2 weeks to get something online. I don't understand why you guys are taking the revenue away from people like me. Because when I go out of business, everyone in here's tax dollars are paying to support my children because my beard is long so I can be the bum that y'all want us to be. Just practicing. You know, just keeping it honest, y'all don't listen to us. We've been up here countless times, year after year after year. The stats are there. 73% plus of Georgians want whole plant, full plant legislation. We're not getting that.
Thank you for your testimony. Jamie Bice, sorry. And we are going to come back briefly to Ms. Reimer in just a moment as well. Please go ahead. Okay.
Thank you, sir. My name is Jamie Bice. I'm with SunMed, your CBD store. We help manage multiple locations, also are involved with our location at the Hartsville-Jackson Atlanta Airport. So, you know, we are one of those good players, as Mr. Lyons mentioned earlier. Just to reiterate with the things that have been mentioned, like a lot of these things that a lot of the folks that have came up has already been covered. I think to give Mr. Harper and his department some credit, I just think we need to give them some more time and some more influence and some more resources to be able to do their job properly. I would like to say that, you know, just in 8-9 months is all the time that they've really had to really try to get this thing under wraps and enforced. As being one of those good players, I welcome you to my back office. I welcome you to my filing cabinets. I welcome you to any part of our store that you would like, whether that's avoiding any of my amendments or not, but we have nothing to hide. We're here to literally help people. Personal testimony from myself, one of our products that we do sell, it is involved with THC and THCV. I've lost 115 pounds in a little over a year with no exercise, right? So I know a lot of people are going to these other type shots and things like that that could be harmful to your body. So I've actually had it's affect my personal life and changed it to a very positive level, help folks come off of opioids and different things like that they're going to. So, you know, literally turned me into a different person. So I appreciate the opportunity. And just to speak quickly on the seltzers, you know, it is a growing market. I will say that giving that to the alcohol industry, and I'm not exactly sure how that framework works, but I don't believe it's going to benefit us small business owners. I believe that's going to be funding more of the bigger companies and not us small business owners and taking care of us local Georgia citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir. Thank you for being here and making the trip. We are going to see if we can pull up Ms. Reimer, and I hope we can keep it to about 5 minutes or less if you can get through your slides, and if not, if you can just hold us to 5 minutes. Ms. we see your screen now. Ms. Reimer? I think you're muted, I believe.
Just a tough deal.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
But you can't see me?
Well,
I can't.
I can't see you, and we lost your, well,
I can't
do we have her
access
screen?
the video, to turn on video. I don't know what happened.
Just find your PowerPoint and share, and you don't have to share screen again, just find your PowerPoint and bring it up. Like, enlarge it, bring it to the foreground.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Your Zoom.
My
your
whole
Zoom
screen has changed.
Right, your Zoom window's in the front, you have a PowerPoint behind it somewhere. In fact, you can probably click down in that little blue strip and you might bring it up.
No, that's not doing it.
Or if you have a...
There's the video. Okay, we got that. So
That's not what we want.
it says you're sharing your screen.
You are, you have your Zoom window up and you need to get your PowerPoint window up. Or you might need to reopen your PowerPoint.
Like me when it comes to that. Just doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, we're going to, I'm sorry, but because of our time constraints, we're going to have to try to move on because we have several others waiting to speak. But
It's okay,
thank you for
I'm
thank you
sorry,
for
I just,
offering, and we do have several that drove over here, so I want to make sure they have an opportunity for us to respect and listen to them. Go ahead, Jason Parrish, and then Aviva after that, and then Aaron Jimenez on deck. And we are trying to keep it to 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Jason Parrish. I'm a local. I own Mosh Pit Eats. It's a local sandwich shop in town. I was asked to come speak as a patient, but I realized this is not a meeting for that. So I have a couple points that I took some notes and just kind of want to hit on. So I'll be talking about traffic stops and things like that. Is there a test for like hydrocodone effects? Like, are they actively in your system as, marijuana? Can we tell there's not a breathalyzer for that too? So as far as testing goes in the field, like is something comparable to that, maybe we can look into. I personally agree with regulation. I am part of the 2% of the population that has made a full recovery from addiction. I've recovered from opioid addiction and methamphetamine addiction. I own a sandwich shop that employs my whole family, and we're very successful. So I do agree that marijuana has benefits and that marijuana's not the problem. I don't think that's the issue today. The issue is the regulation thing. So I agree with regulation. I do not have hemp products and drinks in my shop, although I could. I could go get a license for it. I could pay $250. I could sell them. I don't want the liability of it, so I don't go pay it. But I do think that getting stuff out of a gas station is not the place to get it. I think if we do raise the limit, the fee to get the licensing, that would take care of a lot of the little gas stations, right? Because they don't want to pay the fees. So there's a big issue there. And from what I've been told, even with the marijuana industries and the dispensaries here in town and in Georgia, you cannot sell edibles, right? They're called troches, but they're a lozenge that dissolves, right? They're edibles, okay? So, yeah, so regulation, verbiage, all that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, man, I'm on point with y'all in the regulation and things, and I just think it's a real benefit in my life, and I want to see it benefit other people's lives.
Thank you for sharing today, and thank you for congratulations on your
Thank you.
your what is unfortunately a rare recovery. And
I was
so
also an EMT here for a while, so I've worked the streets and seen the effects. So yeah.
thank you, sir. Aviva, if you can come with us, we've got 2 minutes. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, my mom made me sit in a car for 2.5 hours to come to this meeting, but the worst part of it was that we were using not gasoline, not hemp fuel, and I'm very sad about that. If anyone wants to get up and stretch, you are welcome to. I won't be offended. Sorry about that. He kind of took over, but thank you so much, Chairman, and there's several chairmen in this esteemed committee. I really appreciate you listening to us today. I just want to say, what is wrong with kids these days? Why are they paying 4 cents, 4 solid cents for a hit of vape? That's ridiculous. They should be buying strawberries or string beans. I know, it's very strange. We need more dancing, we need more singing, we need more celebration of life, we need more love. And that's why I'm very confused about how anyone would think prohibition was safe, because it causes people to go to jail. And jail is very traumatizing. And when you're traumatized, then what happens is you already might have inner child issues. Exactly, you're doing a great job, Mom, keep going. And so if you're traumatized on top of that, you can ask anyone in recovery counseling. Ask my therapist, ask any counselor. They do not want their patients going to jail, because that will re-traumatize them. All the work that they did to get them through the addiction in the first place is all undone. So I just want you to rethink that. And also, don't forget to tell them if someone has too much THC, they can eat peppercorns. What? Yeah, they can chew them, and it helps to bring it down. That is crazy. Why don't we know this? Why doesn't the Poison Center know this? Why doesn't the ER know this? I told my brother, who's an ER doctor, he's seen a couple of cases, and to just, CBD actually brings it down. And that's why we wrote this song. Okay, here we go. CBD, when it's raised, it decreases THC. When you raise the THC in the plant, it decreases the CBD. That's it. We thought we'd sing it so you remember. One more time. If you raise the CBD, then you decrease the THC. When you're growing the plant, if it's high THC, then it's low THC. CBD. Mom, I just made that up. I'm sorry, I didn't memorize it. Okay, so just one more second, please. On that note, it is just a travesty that we have this 0.3% THC limit, because industrial hemp for farmers in the South, the THC is the sunscreen. And so it will raise in the fields. And so it's been really hard for farmers to do that. I think, okay, sorry, I get really nervous when it's like, your time is over, but I just want to take one more second. I'm really sorry. I traveled really hard, traveled really far for this. But basically, my main point is that we have an opportunity here in Georgia to either raise the THC limit on hemp or introduce recreational cannabis with low THC flower, because that is the one thing that is so safe. All of these issues that we're having is with the vapes, everything else, not the safe flower.
Thank you
and
for
there's
being here.
there's nowhere in the world.
No.
There's nowhere in the world that has the 1%, 5%.
Thank you for bringing us some information. Aaron Jimenez, and then Stanley Atkins. It was a nice song. Please.
Hey, my name is Aaron Jimenez. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I really appreciate the study committee because it has a great emphasis on education. I think that's what's at the core of every problem that we're hearing is the lack of education. I would love to see a PSA program by the state to parents about the intoxicating effects of these products and how they should put them up from their kids. I see that as a problem because people don't realize that what we have here is just as potent as what you can get in legal states. People come in and they want the deltas, they want Delta 9, and leave off the part where that's THC. It's the traditional THC that you get out west. So I don't think that many people take it seriously, what can happen when your kids get into these products. So having a PSA program by the state would greatly help that product or that problem. I also think an education program for retailers would help with bad actors in the industry. When I was hired into the cannabis industry, the owner paid for each one of the staff members to take courses through the Trichome Institute. So I have 5 certifications through that institute on different areas in cannabis, extractions and concentrates, how to be a good bud tender and talk to people about the plants, having something that's in place, enforced by the state that you have to take it in order to sell these products, I also think would help. And I don't see a problem with raising the licensing fees in order to accomplish something like that. So thank you.
Thank you for being here today and for your testimony. Stanley Atkins, and then I believe it's Rochelle McCrae after that. But go ahead, Mr. Atkins. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, committee, for your opportunity. My name is Stanley Atkins II. I'm a United States military veteran. I'm a retired firefighter paramedic. I've been working in cannabis advocacy and hemp space since about 2015, and I'm the recently retired National Director of Hemp Farming and Technology with Minorities for Medical Marijuana. The Georgia legislators said that they want to have life-changing and life-saving education. They came up here talking about a championship. Well, at the rate we're going, we'll never even make the playoffs. Every industry has bad players, but this industry is the only one that stops all play on the field, versus penalizing those who cause the infraction. When a group of college teens gets caught with alcohol, no one blames White Claw. When an 18-year-old TikTok influencer does the cut water challenge and ends up in the ER or worse, no one blames the convenience store that sold it. Nor do we implicate the beverage makers with their targeted marketing, with their bright-colored logos and cartoon characters on the beatbox and the different drinks. I don't feel that we're being overregulated. I feel that we're being misregulated. Whether we are speaking on life, laws, politics, the only thing that's consistent in life is change. As a disabled military veteran, not only do I deserve choices in my health care, but I have earned it along with countless men and women who have served our country. We all have given some, but some gave their all. At the time where we're having this meeting, there was enough fentanyl that was recently confiscated to kill 70 million Americans. As a matter of fact, during the 2 hours of this committee, at least 24 Americans will die from a fentanyl overdose-related death. I had the unique privilege of running over 20,000 911 calls in Clayton County. I'd like to ask, out of how many of those 911 calls have gone out today are related to opioids? Yes, we have cases of youth consuming related products, but I would like to know, of those treated in the ED, how many of those were fatal? I assure you that nicotine vapes and pouches in the pockets and mouths of our youth at this very moment is much more of an emergency. I would like to think it's safe to say that this toxicity related to ER visits needs the same attention when it comes to nicotine. There just needs to be regulatory consistency and transparency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, for your service, and thank you for being here today.
It was my honor.
And now, Ms. McCrae with, oh, is this online? Or, oh, sorry. Sarah Rochelle with Molson Coors. Did I say that right? All right. We got a couple of minutes left for the committee that will go on if that's an individual that's out. I did want to find out if the committee members have any particular questions. We did ask the presenters to stay around if you have a particular question for any one of them. I know we've heard a lot of testimony today, and glad to recall anyone if you got a question, or frankly, if you just want to make a comment to some of us, our fellow committee members. I won't put you on too much of a time, but
I have a question for the first presenter.
well, if the first presenter can come on up, and in the meantime, Representative Cox, if you got some a little wisdom or some probing questions, we're glad to hear either one.
I think we're gaining a little wisdom, I hope. Something that stood out to me that really captured my attention was that we only have 1% of law enforcement that currently has DRE training. And my question to this committee is, how do we fix that? Anyone?
Well, I think you're going to have to get that informed by the sheriff's departments as well, because of the funding need to get that. And once again, impairment is not step number one. Is the vehicle being driven in an impaired manner or operated in a potentially impaired manner, or is the driver impaired? I don't think they even go into all the testing, but it's a good question. How do they do that with other substances as well?
Sure.
Hydrocodone was mentioned by the last presenter. Representative Fry, did you have a comment or question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was in response to Representative Cox. I would like to see us really delve into the validity of the field sobriety tests before we expanded. I know the officer said that they are valid, but there's several different validating organizations. Really just want to make sure that we're not taking folks to jail, like a buddy of mine who had not had a drink of alcohol this Saturday got taken to jail, and based on a field sobriety test.
Who's the representative for that area?
It was the next
I'm
county
just
over.
curious.
Next county over. Next county over.
Mr. Dunn, did you have
But
a question for the
this is serious stuff.
first
It's
permit?
subjective to, I can barely do two things at once sometimes, and I know some of y'all can't either, And so I think those are subjective measurements based on a subjective individual, because every individual could interpret the results a little bit differently on an in-field sobriety test. I just want to make sure that we focus on the validity before we expand the training. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Everline, I enjoyed your presentation. I have one quick question.
You hit the button again.
You had a slide up there that showed 2.5 milligrams of the beverage was equal to light beer or a 4-ounce glass of wine. In the packaging of 10 milligrams, which is our regulation, would that 12-ounce can equal 4 light beers or 4 glasses of wine, or can you tell me,
Sure. So
explain that to
that's
me?
based on anecdotal evidence. Everyone's tolerance is different, so some people, 10 milligrams might not feel the way it would feel for me. I'm a low-dose consumer, so 2.5 milligrams, I would prefer that to be the beverage of choice that I drank. Some people won't feel that and they want something a little bit more potent, so it varies. But anecdotal evidence has shown for new consumers entering this space that they should start with a serving between 2 and 3 milligrams and see how they feel, and then determine what their tolerance is based on that. So that's based on the new consumer.
Following up on that though, but if you have a 10 milligrams in a 12-inch can of beverage, how does that relate to the slide? That's what I'm asking.
Sure.
Would it be the same potency as 4 light beers in that example?
In that example, for someone who has a low tolerance, that might be the intoxication level they would feel.
Okay, thank you.
Just real quick while you're here, you had a slide, I believe, that showed Tennessee, Alabama, maybe one other. Was that does anybody set a lower limit than 10 milligrams per serving?
Yes, we
I
have
can't
states
remember
that have
which ones.
lower, in those markets, 10 milligrams, I think, was the lowest, and then Tennessee has a 30 milligram limit for their beverage, and 150 milligram per package, which allows for larger format products. There are states, though, that have lower dosages, dosage caps. Connecticut's got a 3 milligram dosage cap. Iowa has a 4 milligram dosage cap. When you start getting more granular and have kind of those lower dosages, you have scalability issues for some of the brands who are mass producing these because there's no consistency, and it can create some confusion for the consumer. 5 and 10 milligrams tends to be what we see as kind of standard dosages across the U.S.
I don't know, your organization sounds like it's is it continent-wide, is that correct? Or
We're federally focused, but we do a lot of education and work with.
If you don't mind sending us those limits, and obviously like your point about 5 or 10 being the rational points in the middle there, but that would be helpful for us to know what some other states have done, if you don't mind.
Happy to share resources. We also have some information from like the National Institute of Health that said 5 milligrams was the standard dose for THC. So there's some research things we can send as well.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, I want to thank the committee for being here today. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Ridley.
Mine's up too.
Oh, sorry. And first, let's go to Representative Williams first, if you don't mind, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to mention, since our first meeting, I've talked to a lot of citizens, and this is for listeners as well as committee members, and I don't want to see the citizenry get the impression that it's us against them. I mean, the people that serve on this committee are the same people that are your neighbors in many cases. And we're not here to be adversarial. We're here because we're looking for real solutions that hopefully will satisfy the majority of people that has an interest in these issues that we're discussing. It's probably one of the toughest moments for me. Being from the old school, I had over 200 employees in Atlanta. I had a zero drug policy. And I had to fire a very good employee because of the length that residue stayed in your blood, marijuana use. I'd handle it differently now, but there is a difference, and I'm looking for solutions. I'm not saying 474 was the best answer, but there's one thing about legislation we revisit all the time. And so we're going to be listening, and everything's on the table, I hope. But we are still your neighbors and fellow Georgians. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Representative Ridley.
I had a question, not on the presentations, but during the public comment. 3 different people said 494 had bad things in it, but none of them said what was actually wrong with 494. So I would like, if they're still here, for them to either email us or send out to Chairman Newton for him to send out to us your actual issues with the bill, because it's one thing to say it's bad, but what is actually bad about it in the entirety of the bill?
There were others that said it was good regulation, but it was unable to, in the current format, unable to be enforced rigorously across 7,000 and growing retail outlets. So I think that was a challenge. Well, with that, I think, Chairman,
It'll be short. Appreciate those comments, Representative Williams. I agree. Looking for solutions, and it's a lot of variables that we're seeing here. And I think Chairman Newton, you said try to get some information from what's working in other states, what's not working. I mean, it would really help me instead of trying to reinvent a wheel, do something unique here in this state. I mean, I'd love some information on what it's doing in some other places. I think would help me trying to find a middle ground or wherever we might end up. I don't know. Also, I want to tell the committee how fortunate you are to have Avita bring Squiggles here today and the ukulele. A rare combination. She comes to our Ag Committee meetings often and entertains our committee, and so just, y'all just have a little flavor of what we get at the Ag Committee.
All right, I think that's a good note for us to say thank you for coming to Augusta, like I said, the second capital city of Georgia, and we will adjourn this meeting, and we'll see everyone on September 25th.